We begin the story with a controversy surrounding the beautiful actress Chai. For months she had been suffering from severe headaches that had turned her life into chaos, and she could no longer hide them. Fans who saw her on the street believed she had become bitter, but that was never the reason. In fact, they even started preferring another actress of the same age who was always kind. However, Chai's situation worsened, and despite seeing multiple doctors, no one could find the cause. All they could do was prescribe strong medication, which had stopped working. This was draining her energy and causing problems during filming. She tried to carry on, acting as usual, but the excruciating headaches were impossible to hide. Her best friend, Sarah, who had debuted with her during childhood and often shared the stage, was always more popular. Sarah constantly tried to support her, but the comparisons were inevitable, and Sarah's kindness made her stand out even more. Another figure who captured attention in the entertainment world was Eun So, a singer and also a talented actor. With so many stars shining around her, Chai started to feel overshadowed. Though she took her career seriously, Yoon noticed how hard she worked. But one day, during a shoot, Chai's headache worsened so much that it delayed filming. She retreated to her dressing room, asking her agent for help, but even the strongest medications weren't helping anymore. Yoon, who had followed her out of concern, overheard her struggles and went to check on her. She confided in him about the pain, but then she almost fainted. Alarmed, Yoon instinctively leaned in and bit her neck. Yoon had remembered that his best friend Juson could heal humans by biting them, seemingly renewing them and even curing illnesses like colds. The best part was that after the bite, the humans would forget it ever happened. Jisun had long wanted Eun to try human blood, as Eun had only ever drunk blood from hospital bags. But this was the first time Eun had actually bitten someone. To Eun's surprise, the blood tasted incredible. However, Chai remembered everything, and she was furious. She accused Eun of harassment, and he was at a loss for words. Just then, her agent entered, and Eun hurriedly whispered that he would explain everything later, before quickly leaving. As soon as Eun left, Chai realized her headache had completely vanished. She assumed the medication had finally kicked in. Meanwhile, Eun was in shock. Had he bitten her wrong? Worse yet, he might be reported for harassment. But when he returned to the set, he saw Chai performing, and she shone like never before. It seemed everything was finally going right. She was even being praised for her outstanding performance. However, the new dilemma was how to explain why he had bitten her, especially since Chai wanted nothing to do with him. Eun knew he had to tell her everything. Later that night, Eun sent her a message asking to meet for lunch the next day. With no other choice, Chai agreed. Just then, her mother called. It seemed like her mother wanted everything her daughter earned, which wasn't much, and she always rubbed it in, saying that she was even more beautiful than Sarah. Yet Sarah was better positioned. Hearing all this and seeing Sarah in every advertisement made Chai feel terrible. She missed her grandmother so much. Maybe she no longer shone like she once did. The next day, just before lunch, Chai and Eun finally had a moment to talk. Eun didn't know where to begin, while Chai just wanted a written apology and to be done with it. But then Eun asked, "The pain hasn't come back since yesterday, right?" He quickly explained that it was all thanks to him, but warned that the pain would return. This scared Chai. She didn't want to go through it again. Eun added that the effects of his bites only last a week. When she didn't believe him, he whispered to her that he was a vampire. After biting her, she likely felt renewed, full of energy, with sharper senses. That's what happens with a vampire's bite. Still, Chai found it hard to believe. Eun told her to talk to him again in a week. Chai returned to the set, and there she saw her unrequited love, June. Hearing how concerned he was about her controversy reminded her that he was still the same guy she had met back in high school. However, he was also friends with Sarah, and they were closer since they belonged to the same agency. As usual, Sarah always seemed to overshadow everyone else. From that day on, Chai couldn't stop thinking about what Yoon had said. Could he really be a vampire? A vampire who wanted her blood? She wasn't sure if she could believe it. Meanwhile, June noticed Chai's focus shifting toward Ayun and felt jealous. He wanted all her attention for himself, but now, thanks to Ayun, he didn't have it. 2 years ago, June had met Ayun when both were cast in a drama. It seemed that Ayun had only a secondary role, but as soon as filming began, he captured everyone's hearts with his acting, and his famous line, "Come to me," attracted many fans. Because of this, June, who had a chance to win an award, lost out as Ayun's fame skyrocketed. Now it seemed like Ayun even wanted to take Chai from him, though June knew that Chai was still crazy about him. As the days passed, it appeared that Uyan was avoiding Chai. But it didn't matter anymore. That night, her agent informed her that she might be offered the lead role in a drama written by the screenwriter Verano Azul. This excited her, and she knew she had to be well prepared for the day ahead. She needed to convince the director to cast her, as he wasn't sure due to the controversy she was currently facing. However, the next day her nightmare returned. The headaches came back. Meanwhile, Un was at home, enjoying a day off. He thought about Chai, as they had known each other since childhood. They had spent a lot of time together with Chai's grandmother, whom Un also considered his own. Chai's grandmother had asked Un to take good care of her, and he had promised to do so. Then he realized that today marked exactly 1 week since he had bitten her. Even though he wasn't supposed to work today, he decided to visit the set to check on Chai. On the other hand, Chai was feeling anxious. Today was the last day of filming, and tomorrow was her meeting with the director. If she didn't do well, she would lose this great opportunity. But the solution soon arrived when Un showed up at her car. At first, Chai couldn't believe she was about to resort to this, but she had to try everything. She told him how much she had tried to stop her headaches, but no doctor could explain the cause. After hearing this, Ayun offered to help. Just at that moment, Sarah arrived and saw them standing very close together. To avoid any misunderstanding, Chai quickly made up an excuse, saying they were practicing for a new drama she would be starring in. She then told Sarah about the project, a very promising drama, which immediately piqued Sarah's interest. But what piqued Sarah's curiosity even more was whether Chai was close to Ayun. Chai casually mentioned that she wanted to become closer to him. That night, Jun, feeling desperate, went to talk to Ayun. He was worried that maybe Chai was turning into a vampire or something similar. He was curious about the myths like sunlight and garlic, but Ayun assured him none of that was true. The only effect of biting someone was that it revitalized them. Despite this, Chai begged Ayun to help her by biting her every week. However, Ayun wasn't sure about it. She didn't have anything to offer in return, so for now his answer was no. Still, thanks to the bite from that day, she would be able to give 100% in her meeting the next day. Meanwhile, that evening, Sarah was talking to her representative, asking about the lead roles available at the moment. Her representative recommended the drama My Favorite Idol, the very same one that had been offered to Chai. But since Sarah didn't like the lead actor in the project, she turned it down, preferring to try a different genre that wasn't romance. The next day, Chai arrived nervously at the set of My Favorite Idol. She introduced herself to the screenwriter Myung Kim and the director Jong Go Lee. The director was the only one unsure about casting her, but Chai promised not to cause any problems. After reading a bit of the script, she began to act, completely convincing them, and she was accepted as the lead actress. Afterwards, the screenwriter Myung Kim wanted to talk to Chai. It turned out they already knew each other from when Chai was very young. Mrs. Kim had been an assistant writer on a drama, but she was often mistreated on set. One day, after a last-minute script change, she was blamed for everything, and the lead actress almost walked off set without filming. But Chai intervened, offering to film her scenes first, saving the day. Mrs. Kim noticed how exhausted Chai was back then, but was grateful for her help. Since that day, Chai had always been kind to her, which motivated Mrs. Kim to keep writing and chasing her dreams. That day, Myung Kim promised to help Chai when she needed it. This is why she recommended Chai for the role, besides her talent, of course. Chai took it all very seriously. She couldn't let Mrs. Kim down, so she was determined to get Un's help. On Thursday, there was a party for all the actors who had wrapped up filming on their latest project. Although Jun was with Chai, as soon as Eun appeared, Chai slipped away from his side, which infuriated Jun. Jealous, he butted in, telling everyone that Chai was head over heels for him, so much so that she would do anything for him. This gossip spread quickly. Meanwhile, Chai sat down to enjoy her meal with Ayun. She didn't know what to offer in exchange for his help, so she did everything she could to please him, serving him food, giving him raw meat even though she didn't like it, and piling on more and more. It became a bit awkward, but Ayun just saw her as the same girl he had known since childhood. In the middle of everything, Ayun overheard people talking badly about Chai. At that moment, the actors from the cast began giving their thanks for participating in the project. But when it was Chai's turn, everyone looked at her with disdain, thinking of her as an easy girl. When it was Sarah's turn, however, everyone admired and praised her, which greatly irritated Ayun, who was a big fan of Chai. As the night was coming to an end, many people asked the actresses for autographs, but no one approached Chai. Jun, however, asked for one on behalf of his nephew, and they took a beautiful photo together. A little later, Eun noticed some men whispering and overheard the whole controversy. He realized that the nasty rumors about Chai were all because of Jun's bragging. Eun tried to confront them, but there wasn't much he could do to stop the gossip. Returning to Chai, Ayun found her still with Jun, but Jun blocked him from getting close to her, not wanting to make the rumors worse. Just then, Chai received a phone call, and when she stepped away, Jun seized the opportunity to try to make Ayun look bad by insisting he drink with him. Meanwhile, Chai got bad news. Her agent had been in a minor car accident, so she would need to take a taxi home. As she was on her way back, she ran into the director of the drama they had just finished, who was talking on the phone. Back at the party, Jun's plan to outdo Yoon backfired, and he ended up completely drunk. When Chai returned, she saw the state he was in and followed him as he staggered away to give him some water. Jun was on the verge of confessing his feelings for her when Serat showed up. Jun's agent had asked Serat to take care of him, so she took him away. After this exhausting day, Eun approached Chai and suggested they take a walk together. During their walk, Chai told him about her exciting new opportunity. But, above all, how difficult it would be to deal with the headaches, especially if he didn't help her. She didn't know what to do to win him over. Maybe entertain him? Perhaps with a dance? Jun was intrigued, and Chai danced with passion. Even then, Jun still refused to bite her every week, but seeing her beg, he couldn't resist. Since another week had passed, he couldn't resist. Since another week had passed, he took her hand and not her neck. It was because her arms were always covered, but no matter where he bit, it would have the same effect. This time, the bite was her payment for the dance. A bit later, the party ended, and Chai was searching for a taxi but couldn't find one. Yoon offered to take her home. During the ride, Chai asked if Yoon's manager knew about his true identity. The answer was yes, but his manager wasn't a vampire. Just then, Chai received a call. Yoon remembered the last time he saw her, after such a long time, 5 years ago. He had been excited to see her again and thought she'd recognize him, but that wasn't the case. She, as always, ran straight into Jun's arms. That jerk always spoke badly of her, or made others think poorly of her. When Chai hung up the phone, Yoon asked her why she liked Jun. She didn't deny it, but hadn't realized anyone would notice. Even though she knew they would never be together, they had been friends for so long, and she didn't want to lose their friendship if things didn't work out. After talking a little more, they finally arrived at Chai's home. Over the next few days, Jin texted Chai and invited her to dinner to apologize for what had happened the other day. She arrived at the restaurant and was surprised to meet a handsome guy who assumed everyone knew him, but they didn't. He introduced himself as Leon de Pleeks, a huge fan of hers, and he would be starring alongside her in My Favorite Idol. As they started chatting, Jin arrived, and to Chai's surprise, Sarah was also there, immediately jumping to the wrong conclusion. Meanwhile, Yun had a visit from his nephew, who came with his mother. The boy wanted to see the autograph he had asked for, but surprisingly he didn't want Chai's, he wanted Sarah's. To make up for it, Yun promised to give him a PlayStation 5. His sister, on the other hand, was happy Yun had finally talked to Chai and reminded him that what had happened in the past wasn't his fault. Later that night, Yun found himself alone again, but he couldn't stop thinking about Chai. Meanwhile, Chai was with her friends, but she felt like the odd one out. The others were talking non-stop, and she felt like a third wheel. On the other side, Yun received a call from his best friend, Chaeson Cha, who was very drunk because his new relationship hadn't worked out. Being a vampire as well, Jason had lost control, craving human blood. To prevent him from hurting someone, Yun gave him his own blood, which woke him up instantly. Vampire blood tastes awful. Just then, Yun got a message from Chai. Jason, out of curiosity, tried to snatch his phone, and in the scuffle, they ended up in an awkward situation that looked suspicious from the outside. While chatting with his best friend, Yun learned that there were rumors about Chai being madly in love with Jun. Furious, Yun wanted to check on Chai and found out she was indeed with Jun. A little while later, Yun showed up unexpectedly, surprising everyone. Chai asked him to join them for dinner. He stayed, but when the women went to the bathroom, Yun confronted Yun, accusing him of being rude. Yun took this chance to tell Jun that he'd been hearing things that were bothering him. He asked if Chai knew about all the gossip Jun had been spreading. Of course, Jun denied it. Yun, frustrated, called him out for his big mouth. Jun didn't understand why Yun was getting involved, and that's when Jun finally confessed that he liked Chai. Yun was shocked, but Jun was confident that he was the lucky one. Yun asked if Chai had ever told him that, but Jun was sure, claiming that things between them were about to get serious. Just then, Chai and the others returned, interrupting the conversation. Jun, still acting cocky, tried to invite Chai to watch a movie. However, their plans were cut short when Jisun arrived, and the group had to leave due to the late hour. Jun wanted to continue hanging out and suggested going to a bar, which Chai wasn't thrilled about. She had hoped to talk with Yun. Taking the opportunity, Yun whisked her away to a beautiful spot where he finally spoke about Jun. Yun wanted to know if, hypothetically, Chai would go out with Jun if he confessed his feelings. For Chai, that was impossible. She saw Jun only as a friend, and even if there were a chance, she wouldn't feel good enough to be with him. Hearing this hurt Yun because, for him, it was the opposite. Yun believed Jun didn't deserve Chai. He told her how much she shines when she acts, how everyone who watches her can't take their eyes off her. Yun couldn't understand why she kept doubting herself. But in that moment, Jun thought how much he wished he could have been the one, not Yun, to be the support Chai so desperately needed. After confessing all of this to her, he drove her home, reminiscing about their childhood. Once, while watching TV with Chai, she had promised him that one day she would win an award, and when she did, she'd thank him. The next day, Yun arrived at his agency only to find himself in a crisis. Photos had surfaced of him in a compromising situation with Jiseon. But since Jiseon's face wasn't visible, Yun was the only one caught in the scandal. He explained the situation to his team. None of it was his fault, but he had to bear the weight of this big news alone. As a result, he risked losing roles in romantic dramas and even sponsorships from female-oriented brands. The CEO of his label suggested that he start publicly dating someone to divert attention from the scandal. They even recommended dating Ruru, another vampire, but Yun wasn't interested in dating someone he didn't have feelings for. He hoped they'd at least let him choose his partner. Meanwhile, Chai was reflecting on how it wasn't the first time someone told her she shines when she acts. She thought of Yun, but remembered that he still hadn't responded to her request. The filming of My Favorite Idol was starting soon, and if she wanted to convince him, she needed to do her research. She started watching interview after interview to learn more about him, until she stumbled upon a link that suggested Yun wasn't interested in women. She wrote him a message saying she would always support him, and just then he called her. He needed help and asked her to come over. Chai arrived and Jun gave her the door code to enter. Just as he was about to explain something, Jiseon stepped out of the shower half naked and called Yun baby. If Chai had any doubts before about Yun not being into women, this moment confirmed it. Yun, embarrassed, tried to pull Ji-seong away, and of course, Chai was shocked. But it was inevitable. 2 hours earlier, Yun had been preparing for Chai's visit, but Ji-seong had shown up and rushed into his bathroom before Yun had a chance to send him away. Now, as Chai was about to leave, Yun managed to stop her. Meanwhile, the band Plix always ordered pizza and got blood from the delivery person. Today, it was Leon's turn. While eating, they watched a drama featuring Chai, and Leon was totally captivated by her. Back at Yun's place, Ji-seong tried to explain his closeness to Yun. After that was cleared up, Yun went to make coffee, but as he got up, Ji-seong grabbed his hand, and just then Chai walked in again, getting the wrong idea. Once more. Finally, once they were alone, Young explained the whole situation. He then reminded her that a week ago he had bitten her, and if she wanted him to keep biting her every week, he would help her, but in return she had to become his girlfriend. Chai was confused, but Yun explained that it was because of the rumors, which had started thanks to Jason, and given the situation, he couldn't deny them publicly. She understood perfectly, and since her label had already suggested she enter a contract relationship, she thought that dating Yun would make everything easier. They could meet once or twice a week, be seen together, and he would bite her then. Given both of their circumstances, it seemed like the fairest arrangement, but Chai didn't feel worthy of him, and wasn't sure if this was the best choice for him either. To Yun, however, she was wonderful, and that's what mattered. Chai asked for a little time to think, but she really needed his help today. Yun didn't hesitate to help her, and was about to bite her, but Chai wasn't quite ready. In the past, she hadn't been fully aware that he was going to bite her, but this time, thanks to the bottle Ji-seong had left behind, they used it to make the bite less obvious. As they sat together, they began to talk about life. Chai wondered if it wouldn't be better for Yun to truly date someone he actually liked. But he confessed that he was still in love with his first love, so for now there was no one else. The thing is, his first love was her. As they turned on the TV, Leon appeared on screen. Chai mentioned that Leon would be part of the cast for My Favorite Idol and would be one of the 3 main leads in a love triangle. Upon hearing this, Yun felt a bit jealous. Later he went to the kitchen, and when he returned, Chai was completely asleep, but when he heard her groan about a headache, he had no choice but to bite her. However, just as he did, she woke up. Startled, he stepped back and accidentally crushed the remote, which turned on the TV. A shocking news report flashed across the screen. The hottest celebrity couple, June and Sarah, were officially dating, according to their agency. Overwhelmed by the news, Chai got up. She was a bit flustered but thought it was fine. They always looked good together. She thanked Yun because she felt better now, though not completely. They began drinking to drown their sorrows. She was worried about Sarah because Jun had never been in a serious relationship before, and he always called Chai when things ended badly. Due to the situation, she told Yun she would do the contract relationship with him. They started listing the objectives, getting spotted by paparazzi, wearing matching jewelry and such. But she admitted she didn't know anything about love. Yun asked about her first love, and she barely remembered. It was when she was very young. He understood that maybe the boy never tried to reach out to her because she had always been acting. If he had wanted to, he would have already contacted her. Yun changed the topic and started planning everything for their contract. However, as the alcohol took effect, Chai suddenly began to see Yun as her first love. He resembled that boy a lot. She was about to make a move when Yun received a call. Noticing she was a little tipsy, he told her not to drink too much or she would regret it later. Chai had always felt gratitude toward Yun for looking out for her. However, now she felt awkward because he and her friend Sarah were dating. Jun asked her if she knew anything about Sarah, and she responded that she didn't. He was about to explain the news about his relationship when Chai spilled her drink, cutting him off. She ran to the bathroom, leaving her phone behind, and Yun, seeing that she hadn't hung up the call, answered it. He told June that Chai spilled her drink and had gone to the bathroom. June became annoyed, but Yun reassured him that everything was fine and congratulated him on his relationship with Sarah, telling him not to worry about Chai anymore because he would take care of her. After saying this, Yun hung up the call. The next morning, Chai woke up startled, realizing that things had gotten a bit out of hand. A while later, Yun entered, and she nervously asked if he remembered anything from the night before. Slowly, everything came back to her. Yun had brought her clothes to change into, and they continued drinking. She had told him that Sarah and Jun were her only friends, and that now everything would change since they were in a relationship. She added that she felt really comfortable with Yoon and asked if they could stay in touch, even after their contract ended. They ended up toasting to their relationship, though by then she was quite drunk. She asked why it didn't hurt when he bit her, and Yoon explained that vampire bites had an analgesic effect, comparing it to a mosquito bite. When a mosquito bites, you don't feel anything. Hearing this, Chai burst into laughter, imagining Yoon as a mosquito. He smiled too, but noticed she was very drunk. Then, out of the blue, she asked what would happen if she bit him, and if a human had ever bitten him before. Yoon was taken aback, but before he could respond, Chai declared that she wanted to bite him. Without warning, she gave him a huge bite, leaving Yoon stunned. That's how Chai fell asleep the previous night, and today she realized the massive mark she had left on Yoon's neck. She panicked, wishing she could disappear. Later, she showed up at the recording studio, where Miss Kim and Mr. Lee were excited to see her. But suddenly, she received a message from her manager. When she stepped out of the office, she saw her co-worker Leon, who looked pale. He started explaining that he had been very nervous that morning, and his group had helped him calm down. However, after eating, he realized he had overeaten, which caused him to have severe stomach pain. Chai told him that he should go to the doctor, but he didn't want to ruin her work. She reassured him that wasn't the case and asked him to wait for a moment. She went to get a pin, pricked Leon's finger and started massaging his hand. Like magic, his pain began to fade. Overjoyed, he asked how she knew such remedies, and she explained that her grandmother had taught her many home remedies when she lived with her. Leon thanked her, but his nerves were still high. He was so scared of messing everything up, but Chai told him not to worry because he was going to do great. Afterwards, she excused herself to make a call to her manager, who informed her that her acting partner had been changed and now her partner was from class Don. She was surprised, and when she returned to the studio, she found Dagon, who greeted her with a smile, telling her she looked even more beautiful than before. Suddenly, Dae-ho Choi appeared as well. He was also Chai's co-worker and a friend of Jin. Everyone greeted him politely. Once everyone was gathered, the script reading began, and the directors praised Leon for doing an excellent job. Then it was Chai and Da-jon's turn. Since some lines were missing from the script, they improvised. Knowing each other for a long time made this easy for them, and the directors loved it. After that, they started a photo shoot. Leon and Chai were taking photos together when they asked Chai to take a picture with Do-ha Choi. He thought the rumors about her being easy were true, so this jerk tried to take advantage of the situation by putting his arm around her waist. Obviously, this made Chai uncomfortable. Seeing this, Leon stepped in between them and suggested taking a group photo, successfully separating Chai from the creep. Do-ha didn't like it at all. Later, Chai and Eun were together, both wearing masks. They were in the car, laughing at how they looked, as if they were in a secret relationship. Afterward, they headed to the movies. Once there, she mentioned she wanted to watch a vampire movie. Soon after, Yoon came back with popcorn and tickets, and they entered the theatre together. They turned off their phones, and the movie started. Yoon began sweating and suddenly grabbed Chai's hand. She was surprised to realize that Yoon was scared of these types of movies. Of course, he denied it, but he couldn't hide it. Chai ended up covering his eyes for him. After the movie ended, she couldn't stop teasing him because it was hilarious that a vampire would be afraid of a vampire movie. Once they turned on their phones, they saw a news alert about a school bullying scandal. Meanwhile, Sarah wanted to send Chai a message to apologize for not telling her about her relationship with June, as she didn't know how to break the news. She felt sad and pensive because they had been like sisters since childhood, and she didn't want to ruin their friendship. Just then, she saw the news that Do-ho Choi had been accused of school bullying, and his agency was conducting an investigation. At the same time, Yoon received a call from his boss who wanted to meet him urgently. They were still in the car, and seeing that Chai was worried, Yoon told her that the news might not be true. She replied that she hoped so because she didn't want the situation to escalate. It could cause her a big problem. Yun dropped Chai off at her house, apologizing for leaving her like that, but she told him she had a great time and had never had so much fun, clearly because she'd been teasing him. She was about to get out of the car when suddenly he told her he'd be quick and bit her. She was shocked because she hadn't even felt anything, and he explained that the last time she had been too tense, which was why this time he bit her faster. She got out of the car and left, blushing with her heart racing. On the other hand, a little later, Yun found himself meeting with his boss. She informed him that they had offered him a role in a drama, replacing Dua Choi. Due to recent events, they had asked for another actor, and she had considered Yun for the part. He asked if the controversy was true, and she confirmed that it was. She explained that the agency was handling negotiations with the victim, who had already provided evidence. The affected party had also issued a public apology, and Do-ha was being removed from all his projects. That's why the agency was looking for a replacement. Yun thought about what Chai had told him and eventually accepted the role. Later, Yun shared the news with Chai, telling her that he was going to be the lead actor in the drama and that he wanted her to be the first to know. She was thrilled, as it meant they would get to see each other more often. However, Yun then told her that for now they would need to pause their contract. With all the controversy surrounding the situation, it could negatively impact the drama's production. They agreed to wait until things calmed down before resuming the contract, and Chai reluctantly accepted. The day of the first shoot arrived, and Chai's headache started up again. When Leon saw her, he wanted to talk to her, but she disappeared. It turned out she was with Yun, who was giving her some medicine. Meanwhile, Leon heard a noise in the meeting room and, curious, went to check it out. Just then, someone called him to get ready for the filming, which caused him to backtrack and separate from Chai. As they parted ways, Yun saw Chai and Leon together, which made him feel jealous. He approached them and Leon greeted him, saying it was a pleasure to meet him. After the formal introductions, Mr. Hanang interrupted them, asking Yun to help Leon, who was his biggest fan. Leon then added that Yun wasn't just his fan but also his role model. Yun thanked him, and a few minutes later the filming began. Chai and Leon got along wonderfully during the shoot, which only made Yun more irritated. He watched them so intently that he didn't notice Daejeon, Chai's co-star, approaching him. She told Yun she was happy to work with him again, but he gave her a distant response, saying he felt the same. In reality, he wasn't paying her any attention. His focus was entirely on Chai, which annoyed Daejeon. After they wrapped up the shoot, Leon and Chai congratulated each other on the great job they had done. Someone commented to Leon that although he said Yun was his role model, it seemed like he was more focused on Chai. Leon responded with a smile, admitting that Chai was also his first love. For a moment, everyone around them was shocked. But suddenly they told him not to say those things because it could be misinterpreted. They explained that Chai was a sweet girl actress and that many boys had fallen in love with her. With a smile, Yun agreed, which left Leon thinking. After a while, they were practicing their lines together and they began to smile more. Later, Yun and Chai were reviewing the script, but Chai suddenly noticed that Minji had a kitten sticker on her phone, and she got really excited. Minji told her it was her kitten, Roru, and Chai couldn't wait to see more pictures. As they looked through the photos, they smiled so much that Chai completely forgot she was with Yun. Poor Yun was ignored because of a cat. A little later, Daejeon was talking to Minji, telling her that she initially thought Chai was arrogant, but had realized after getting to know her that she had a good side. She also mentioned what had happened with the pictures of the kitten. Daejeon told Minji that Chai wasn't usually like that. The two of them hadn't been close, even though they had shared high school together. Daejeon had always noticed that Chai wasn't very kind to other girls. This conversation was overheard by Mion Kim, the scriptwriter for the drama. Later, Yun was meeting with his boss, where he explained the situation regarding his contract with Chai. She was excited, knowing that this could lead to a real relationship, as she knew Yun liked Chai. However, she suggested he wait for now, as there were many complications at the moment. Later that night, Yun fell asleep at home and had a dream where Chai left with Leon, because, according to her, Leon was as sweet as the kitten. The next day, Chai was on set when she overheard two girls talking about how Yun had come to the set to resolve some pending issues. She was about to message him when suddenly he appeared in front of her, dressed entirely in pink, asking how he looked. She smiled and told him he looked handsome. But that wasn't what he wanted to hear. He wanted to hear that he looked cute. Later, Yun was in his car, checking himself in the mirror, wondering if he looked cute. He realized his driver was watching him, which made him feel embarrassed. His manager told him that the drama from scriptwriter Galleon was soon to premiere, and the leads were Jun Kan and Ha Jinna, with Yun being more famous than they were. However, Chai was weak in front of Yun, which left Yun thinking. The next day on set, Yun and Chai finished filming their scene. As Chai jumped to hug him, her heart beat faster. She whispered, wondering if vampires' hearts beat that fast. Just then, Leon appeared, calling out, "Nuna!" congratulating her on her performance. His closeness made Yun feel sad, wondering how they had gotten so close. Leon asked Chai if she drank, and memories of Yun flashed in her mind. Blushing, she said she didn't drink much, only sometimes. Later, Yun went to Chai's house. They sat down to talk about what had happened on set with Leon. Chai mentioned that she wished her brother were as sweet as Leon. Yun, surprised by her comment, blushed. Chai, smiling, said that she felt closer to him now, as they were allies. Thanks to him, she could now connect with more people, as she had previously kept her distance from everyone. Her only friends were Sarah and Jun, and she realized how isolated she had been. Suddenly, Yun stroked her hair, which made her nervous. Chai then asked if he wanted something to drink, but as she tried to get up, she slipped and fell on top of him. As she heard the fast-paced heartbeat of a vampire, she thought it was normal, but when she got up, she realized Yun was as red as a tomato. How could he not be, when he was deeply in love with her, and every time he got close it made him nervous? In the midst of this, Yun stood up and, without giving her a chance to react, jumped on her, looking into her eyes, and suddenly bit her. Afterward, he told her that now that they were together, he could bite her. She, slightly annoyed, told him not to do that again without warning her. He nodded, but made her promise she wouldn't get mad again. Once she calmed down, Chai said that sudden bites weren't good for her because they made her heart race too much, but then she asked if his blood was rich. Yun answered yes, and that every time he tasted her blood he wanted more. Chai asked about other people's blood, and Yun replied that each person's blood was different. Chai didn't know what to say, but Yun assured her not to worry because he wouldn't bite anyone except her. A little later, Chai asked him to turn on the TV. While Yun was looking for the remote, he found a photo of Chai and her grandmother. Seeing this made him sad, and he told Chai that he had to leave to take care of something important but would call her later. He left, leaving Chai surprised. Meanwhile, Yun was driving, thinking about how he had always wanted to distance himself from her, but couldn't, which is why he was always around. He feared getting closer to her because he knew he wanted a special relationship, and each time he felt more jealous of everything, making him think that he didn't deserve her. He felt guilty, as he hadn't been there for her when she needed him most. The next day, Chai's phone alarm went off, and she answered thinking it was Yun. She was busy because he hadn't called her. She decided to send him a message to ask if he had gotten home safely. His response was distant, just a simple yes, saying they would meet at the set later. Later, Chai was surprised by Minji's behavior. Then Leon arrived, and Minji asked why he treated her with so much formality, while Chai didn't get the same treatment. Leon replied that Chai was like his sister, and Minji was his elder. Minji, not wanting to feel like an old lady, asked if they could start calling her Nuna, just like Chai. Shortly after, on set, Leon was trying to take a picture, but it wasn't coming out right. Chai, who had noticed, offered to take the photo for him, and he happily agreed. At that moment, a bunch of messages flooded Leon's phone from a fan group on a paid app. He asked if Chai was interested and if she wanted him to show her how it worked. She agreed, and they started exploring the app together. Yun, who happened to be passing by, saw them and felt really sad, so he walked away. Chai, noticing his departure, felt guilty, thinking that her closeness to Leon had pushed Yun away. That night, while lying in bed, Chai received a message from Leon asking if she had eaten. She was excited, feeling like this was a real conversation. She decided to explore more of the app and, to her surprise, got a message from Leon without a shirt on, saying he was going to bed and wished her good night. She was taken aback, blushing, especially when she saw messages from his fans, who were supposedly grandmothers. It made Chai laugh. Later that night, while chatting with Leon in bed, she asked him why he was so popular with grandmothers. He laughed and said they weren't grandmothers but teenagers pretending to be. Then he asked if she had plans for the next day. She replied that she would be rehearsing lines, but Leon suggested they practice together and that he would teach her more about the Fangirl app. The next day, they went out to eat and practice lines in the car, while also enjoying the city. Chai thanked him for taking her to such beautiful places and for teaching her more about the fan app. He continued to show her more, and at one point he put on bunny ears and made a cute expression. Chai blushed but followed his lead. Suddenly, Leon asked her when she first started liking him. Chai was curious, and Leon told her that it happened in high school, and his feelings for her had only grown stronger since then. He remembered how she had helped him when he was lost, looking for a recording studio. Chai recalled everything and asked if he had passed the audition. Leon replied that he hadn't, but that things had turned out better than expected. Since then, he had liked her, but he didn't know how to confess because he was overwhelmed with his feelings. He apologized for making her uncomfortable, and Chai, nervous, reassured him that it was fine. She thanked him for noticing her, but told him that she liked someone else. Leon was taken aback by this and understood, but he lowered his head, unable to look at her. Chai told him that for her, he was a great friend, and she was grateful to have met him. He asked her not to act distant, and she sweetly reassured him that she wouldn't. Later, Chai lay in bed deep in thought, questioning why Leon liked her and why he kept appearing in her thoughts. Yun also crossed her mind, and she realized her feelings for him were different now. She enjoyed being with him, and her heart raced whenever he was near. She fell asleep, dreaming of giving Yun a huge kiss. The next day, at the recording set, Chai was hiding from Yun, feeling like she had to keep her distance. Just then, Minji approached and asked if Chai wanted to attend the housewarming party and watch the first episode of the drama together. Chai was excited, but just as Leon arrived, she said yes, thinking that the more, the better. Meanwhile, Yun was on the phone when he overheard Minji asking Leon if something had happened between him and Chai when they were alone. Nervously, Leon denied it, saying he didn't know what she was talking about. But Chai wasn't easily fooled. She had already realized how Yun felt about her. She asked him to tell her what happened before she invited him to the party. He told her that he had confessed his feelings to Chai. Hearing this was like a bucket of cold water for Minji, who was shocked and asked when it had happened and what Chai had said. Yun explained that Chai told him she liked someone else. Minji thought it was probably Jun, but Yun insisted that he was the one she liked. He sweetly and gently asked if he could still attend the party, and Minji agreed, but only because Chai was fine with it. Later, June was in his car reading the script when someone knocked on the window. Surprise, it was Chai. Both of them sat awkwardly in the car. She had come to ask for his help, and he was about to bite her, but she stopped him and asked him to bite her arm instead. He agreed and did it, and she felt her heart racing as she remembered her dream, blushing. She thanked him and was about to leave when he stopped her. In the end, he didn't know what to say, which upset Chai since he had been distancing himself from her. She looked at him sadly. She told him that, for now, only she would benefit from their contract, but he could always ask for her help whenever he needed it, and she would do whatever she could to assist him. He smiled and accepted her offer. As they left, they saw a poster with a promotion for his drama. Seeing this, Yun called Sidi, asking when it had been planned. She told him that she just wanted to congratulate him. Chai thanked her, and Sidi asked if she could visit her on set. Of course, Chai said yes. Later on set, Seri saw her friend so happy with Minji and she felt down, thinking about leaving when Daeon saw her and approached. She asked why Seri had sent that gift to Chai. Seri said that it must have been from the agency and maybe soon they would send one to her too. She said goodbye, but Daeon was upset when she saw the poster featuring Chai. She was plotting something. Chai was on her way back to the set when she heard a commotion in the dressing rooms. Concerned, she went to check and found Hichi holding a dress that was stained with coffee. It was the one provided by the sponsor. Jijian, who was in charge of the costumes, felt embarrassed and was about to leave when the representative of Chai's agency noticed what was going on. Chai insisted she would pay for the dress, but the most logical thing would be for the person who caused the damage to take responsibility. Unfortunately, Jijian didn't know who had done it. Later, Chai was in the bathroom looking up how much the dress cost. It was an eye-watering $5,000. She started thinking about how she would manage to pay that amount when her personal expenses and her mum's were barely covered. She considered paying in installments. Suddenly, she overheard someone talking about Yun, who never accepted clothing sponsorships but was now wearing a brand new outfit. This was great for the brand since everything Yun wore sold out instantly. As she left the bathroom, Chai noticed a worker walking distractedly and accidentally bumped into her. Without hesitation, Chai rushed to help her. When she noticed the worker had hurt her hand, Chai took her to the dressing rooms to take care of her. Shortly after, she was told that the new dress was ready and she wouldn't need to pay for it. She just needed to wear it. They asked her if the dress was expensive, but Chai nervously avoided answering. She had gotten lucky. Later, Chai walked out of the dressing room, looking beautiful in the dress, only to spot Yun wearing an outfit from the same brand. She was shocked at how well it fit him. They both met face to face, and Chai complimented him. With a sweet smile, Yun thanked her, but he quickly returned the compliment, telling her she looked beautiful too. Chai was left confused with her heart racing. Just then, Leon appeared, all excited to greet her, but she was so focused on Yun that she barely noticed him. This surprised Leon a lot, and he realized who Chai had feelings for. Meanwhile, the girl Chai had helped earlier told her boss that she knew who had damaged the dress. She claimed it was Daeon, and she had seen it happen. The boss explained that the accusation was serious and it would be better to forget about it, since there was no proof. Meanwhile, on set, Chai was glowing in that dress, and of course this infuriated Daeon. She started remembering how she met Chai. They attended the same school and were in the same class. Daeon thought Chai would be the only friend Seri would have since they were both famous, or so she thought, but one day, while walking down the school hallway, they ran into Chai, and Seri introduced her as her only and best friend. This surprised Daeon, but the other friends of Seri started gossiping, saying that Chai had been absent from classes because she was sick from working too much. Since she had to support her family, she had no choice. This left Daeon thoughtful, especially when Seri's mum came to pick them up to take them home. But Chai didn't go because she had to work. Daeon thought that this couldn't possibly be friendship. What Seri felt for Chai was pity, and that was why Chai ruined the dress, to put her in the place she thought Chai deserved. Later, Chai, Leon and Minji were discussing the party and the time they should head to Minji's apartment. Out of nowhere, they saw Yun asking if he could join. He was uncomfortable and told them he couldn't because he had a prior commitment. He just wanted to stay away from Chai for his own good. He only wanted to help her and nothing more. On the day of the gathering, Chai, Leon and Minji arrived at Minji's house. They thanked her for the invitation and gave her their gifts. Just then, the little cat Ruru appeared. Chai was so excited to see her and started holding her. Ruru was happy in Chai's hands. Soon after, the three of them were enjoying coffee together, but then they mentioned how worried they were because the drama June was acting in was going to air at the same time. According to surveys, more people were anticipating that drama over theirs. Chai told them that no matter the outcome, they had to do their best until the very end. Then Minji told Chai that Sari had only sent that gift to her, and not even her boyfriend understood that for Sari to do that, she must care a lot about Chai. They even thought that when they had time, the four of them should do something together. Meanwhile, Yun was at home, feeling lonely and regretting not going. He got a call from Jijeon, whose wild friend, who asked where he was. Without thinking, Yun told him he was at home, so Jijeon discovered he had been lying. Jisun told him he was heading to Minji's house and insisted that Yun join him once he finished his commitments. Yun asked if he knew Minji, and Jisun replied that they went to the same school. Jisun kept pushing him to join him, and Yun finally came up with a solution, telling him that if the drama succeeded, they would celebrate by drinking. If it didn't, they would drink anyway, since Yun knew exactly how Jisun operated. He would bite anyone who crossed his path. Meanwhile, Jiseong told Yun that there were no cameras around and nothing would happen. Yun felt compelled to go and asked for the address. Meanwhile, at Minji's house, she and Chai were cooking, but they had forgotten the essentials, drinks. As a result, Leon offered to go buy some. Meanwhile, in the parking lot, Jiseong and Yun were already there. Yun claimed he only came to look after Jiseong. Suddenly, Yun saw Leon and Chai approaching with bags, and Jisun teased him, saying he had competition and that it seemed like Leon was in love with Chai. This made Yun very uncomfortable, especially when Leon walked slowly toward Chai. However, Jisun quickly interrupted, and Yun ran to help Chai, but they had to enter the house. A few hours later, everyone was seated at the table, waiting for the drama to start. Everyone was paying attention, and Leon told Chai she was acting impressively, but that he looked odd. She told him his work was also amazing, and when Yun appeared on screen, he looked so handsome that everyone started saying he outshined the others because he was so good-looking. However, when Chai noticed that Leon seemed sad, she reassured him that he had also been charming. Soon after, Yun received a call from his agent, who told him the audience results were in. Everyone was eager to know the outcome. Yun shared that their drama had gotten an 11.4% rating, making it #1 in its time slot, surpassing Jun's drama. Leon hugged Chai, which made Yun upset. Jisen quickly approached and tried to separate them by giving Leon playful kisses on the cheek. Leon, blushing, told him to stop, but everyone was laughing at their antics. A couple of minutes later, they were all celebrating and drinking. Jisun asked Chai if she would allow him to speak informally with her, and she agreed. After eating, Jisun suggested they play a game that would be fun, where the loser had to drink a shot of liquor. Chai was already on her third shot, losing repeatedly. Leon told her he wanted to be the one to drink for her, and that he would make a wish in exchange. Chai felt uncomfortable, but drank her shot. And when it was Yun's turn, she excitedly mentioned that it was Yun's favorite game, and it was clear the alcohol was starting to get to her head. Suddenly, Leon received a call from his friend, John, who asked when he would return because they had a surprise for him. Minji told him how lucky he was to have such friends and encouraged him to enjoy the party, so he had to leave. However, Jisung said that now they had to play a loyalty game. As always, the loser had to drink, and Chai was worried that if Yun got drunk, he would try to bite her again. As expected, Yun lost again, and before he could react, Chai quickly drank the shot herself, saying she was now the knight. Yun made a funny face, and Chai laughed heartily, but Yun suggested they take her for a walk to help her sober up. After they were alone, Jison told Minji he thought Yun's love was one-sided, but Minji was still sad about Leon. Meanwhile, Chai and Yun were walking. He told her she shouldn't drink so much, but she didn't want him to either. She was scared that when he got drunk he might bite her again, but it was her who ended up biting him. He gently explained that they needed to sit so she could rest. As they sat, she told him she was happy because she felt he was a good person. He softly replied that everyone who really knows her cares for her, but she should stay away from Leon to avoid misunderstanding. Then she asked if he liked her. He blushed and didn't know how to respond, turning away to avoid looking at her. She thought that even though her mind told her he didn't want her, she still hoped he did. He was about to answer when, suddenly, she grabbed his shirt, took off his cap and mask, and kissed him. This reminded her of when they were kids, and she had told him angrily that she didn't want to be his sister, but his girlfriend. The next morning, Chai woke up in Minji's house, feeling alarmed and wondering what had happened. She got up and went to the kitchen to prepare something to eat. Minji also woke up and was surprised to see Chai. She nervously asked her what had happened the night before. Minji began telling her that Yun had carried her on his shoulders and they had continued drinking. She even saw herself bite Yun on the neck. She blushed and apologized to her friend. But Chai expressed that she and Jisun had a lot of fun watching them. Soon after, Chai wrote to Yun, apologizing for what had happened, and this made Yun remember everything from last night. However, from what Chai had written, Yun knew she didn't remember anything at all. A few minutes later, Yun and Chai met on set, greeting each other with smiles, both thinking that neither of them remembered anything. They started filming their scenes, and the crew began commenting on how great Chai's performance was, saying it was a pleasure to work with her. Don was upset by how much they were praising Chai, so she decided to go get Chai's script to damage it. But she was caught by the scriptwriter Myeon Kim, who informed her that the entire place had surveillance cameras. In fact, she was the only one who entered the dressing room with coffee and then left without it. Myeon showed her the video, and Don became nervous. Her plot was over. Myeon wasn't going to let this situation slide. Chai was practicing her lines when Mrs. Kim entered with Don. She said she had something to tell Chai. They all sat down, and Don apologized, explaining that she had entered with coffee because the dress was so beautiful she wanted to see it up close, and accidentally spilled coffee on it. Chai wanted to yell at her but stayed calm and simply accepted the apology from this horrible person. Afterward, Don left angrily, and Mrs. Kim told Chai that if she ever needed help she shouldn't hesitate to ask. Since she now knew what had happened with the dress, Mrs. Kim also told her that Yoon had bought the new dress and even offered to sponsor the clothing brand so that Chai wouldn't have to pay for the stained dress. That night, Chai spoke to Yoon, thanking him for the dress but also telling him she felt like she was taking advantage of him, even though she knew he enjoyed his delicious blood every week. Since tomorrow marked the week, he would need to bite her. She asked if he wouldn't be too tired after filming the musical, and he said no, that he would be early to help her. After wishing her good night, he hung up the call, leaving Chai wondering why he was being so kind to her. Meanwhile, Yoon was filming his video, but his manager told him there were a few more shots to do and he needed to repeat them. Yoon was worried because it was already late and he had to return to help Chai. Besides, he had a photo shoot with Leon the next day. The next morning, Chai arrived on set, and she and Leon were doing a photo shoot, the theme being a love triangle. They had just started taking photos when Chai suddenly began feeling a headache. Leon asked if she was okay, and she assured him she was fine and not to worry, but her pain worsened, so they decided to take a break. She went to her dressing room, and just then, Yun arrived. Chai asked her manager to get her some painkillers. When he left, Yun bit Chai, and instantly her pain disappeared. She scolded him for taking so long and he hugged her, apologizing and promising it wouldn't happen again. At that moment, Leon entered with some painkillers. Yoon greeted him and Leon asked if Chai had been crying. She explained that she hadn't been crying but had only yawned, and she felt much better, thanking him for the medication. Leon looked at Yoon curiously. When everyone was about to leave the photo shoot, Leon took Yoon's hand and asked if he had bitten Chai. Yoon was surprised, thinking they had been found out. However, Leon smiled and apologized for asking that out of the blue. Meanwhile, during the photo shoot with Chai, Yoon felt jealous, especially when they were told they made a good couple. Yoon thought about what would happen if Leon found out that he had been biting Chai. Would it mean that Leon could bite her too? And if that happened, she wouldn't need him anymore. The photo shoot with Yoon went smoothly until they had to take a bite of a cake together. When their eyes met, there was a spark of electricity and both blushed, remembering what had happened at Minji's house. This made them both uncomfortable, and the crew began commenting that they didn't seem as close because they looked awkward. This made Leon think. Meanwhile, Jin was reading the comments about their dramas and saw some that said Yoon was much better than him, which annoyed him. But then he saw comments praising Chai, calling her beautiful, and that made Jin happy. Meanwhile, during the photo shoot, Chai was deep in thought. Leon approached her, about to ask if she liked Yun when the lamp suddenly fell. It almost hurt Chai, but Leon intervened and saved her. Chai was worried and asked them to call an ambulance because Leon had hurt himself. Leon headed to his dressing room. After a while, Chai went to Leon's dressing room. Since he didn't know she was about to enter, he asked his representative to put a bandage on him. When Chai saw him, she blushed, but noticing that he needed help, she immediately took care of the bandage herself. For a moment, she thought it might be best to take him to the hospital, but of course he refused, as his recovery was much faster than a human's, being a vampire. Shortly after, Chai had to leave to try on her costume. Just then, Yun arrived to check on Leon. He asked if Leon was okay, and Leon replied that it was just bruises, which would heal quickly. Then Leon told Yun that he liked Chai and asked him to help with her. Yun went silent when Chai suddenly appeared and told them that the representative wanted to see them. Leon was surprised to see Hyejeon, but Hyejeon approached Leon and whispered to him, "I'm sorry, but I can't do it." Leon was shocked, but when Hyejeon noticed Leon was limping, he offered to help. However, Yun, being jealous, didn't let him and instead carried Leon on his shoulders. Everyone commented on how great they looked together. Later, Chai mentioned that she had heard of a massage that could help with bruises, and she was going to give Leon one, but Yun intervened, saying he would give the massages instead. At the cafeteria, they were about to eat, and Leon mentioned that his hand was still shaking. Chai was about to feed him, but Yun grabbed the chopsticks and started feeding him instead. Hyejeon was happy to see how well they seemed to get along. Later, Yun was exhausted and thought about why he couldn't simply ignore them and pretend not to care. The more he thought about it, the more frustrated he became, especially when he received the next script. Oh, a surprise, Chai had a kissing scene with Leon, and the jealousy started to rise. It had been a week since he had bitten her, and Yun called Chai to tell her that he was waiting for her at his house and asked her to bring the script. She was surprised because he told her that since they would be together, they could rehearse. She happily agreed, and in the afternoon arrived at Yun's house. Since he said he would be late, he gave her the code to get in and make herself comfortable. But when she entered, she found the TV on. While waiting, she fell asleep and dreamt of her childhood love. When she woke up, she was startled to find herself hugging a child who looked exactly like the boy she had remembered. Soon after, Yun arrived home and saw his sister and nephew with Chai. Nervously, he told his sister that she shouldn't have arrived without warning. His sister, serious, told him that he should be grateful she had filled the fridge with food and, holding his cheek, asked Chai if Yun was always this kind to her. Chai replied that he was very kind to her. Then the cute nephew said he was a big fan of hers. His future sister-in-law then asked Chai if she liked to drink, to which Chai replied yes, although she mentioned that sometimes she would take out a bottle out of the blue. Yun's sister immediately asked for glasses. They began to toast to the younger sister she never had, and then the conversation turned to Yun. Chai mentioned that Yun was a very good person, but then Yun's sister asked if they were dating, and they all nervously denied it, explaining that Chai had only asked Yun for a favor. The adorable little boy told Chai that when he grew up, he would be a good boyfriend, making Yun blush, while his sister smiled. When she left, she told them to stay in touch, even if she wasn't with Yun. Chai happily accepted. The little boy, Gae-young, told his mum to leave, as he wanted to stay and sleep with Chai. But Yun carried his nephew in his arms, and he yelled, "No, Chai Nuna, poor thing!" He wanted to stay with his future girlfriend, but it was no use. Soon after, they were alone. Yun gave her her dose of medicine, and Chai looked at him intently. When he looked back at her, she blushed and quickly turned her face, thanking him. They were both so awkward, but then Chai said that his sister was very kind and that little Gae-young was so sweet. Yun laughed and told her that he was just a show-off, always wanting to win at everything. Chai said she was really surprised when she saw him because he looked so much like the boy she had liked when she was little. Her first love. Before she could continue, Yun asked if she had brought the script so they could start rehearsing. They had been rehearsing the first part for a while, and Yun suggested they move on to the next scene. Chai hesitated, saying that part was with Leon, but they started rehearsing it anyway. When they reached the kissing scene, Chai nervously smiled and said they had already practiced enough. Yun curiously asked if she had kissed anyone before, to which she replied no, but that this scene was with Leon. He explained that it would be awkward because of the cameras and the crew, and she nodded, understanding. As always on YouTube, there are thousands of tutorials on how to kiss professionally, but of course he wasn't going to watch them. Suddenly, Yoon, getting closer to Chai, suggested that she practice on him. She got very nervous, her heart pounding, and quickly said no. Yoon, a bit sad, accepted her refusal, thinking he might be coming on too strong. Seeing this expression, Chai told him to start over. They began again with the kissing scene, and, nervously, she asked, "What if my fangs come out in the middle of it?" Yoon, reassuring her, said not to worry because that wouldn't happen. He gently cupped her face and kissed her. It was a long kiss. Meanwhile, at a nightclub, Jisung was celebrating her friend's birthday when Yoon arrived. An unwanted guest. They introduced themselves and Jisung mentioned that she had heard a lot about Yoon. Her friend started teasing her, asking if she was happy with her drama and why she hadn't been seen with him lately. Yoon explained that she was choosing her next movie project. Suddenly, one of her friends asked if it was true that Yoon went to the same school as Chai. Yoon confirmed it, and upon hearing this, the friend asked him to help with Chai. But the other friends joked, saying that Chai liked Yoon and followed him everywhere. They started talking badly about Chai, and Yoon, in his vain manner, said that since Chai also liked him, he chose her, of course, because she was the best option. Then Jezun asked Yoon if Chai had confessed her feelings to him. Yoon arrogantly replied that it was obvious. Jezun laughed, saying maybe he was just fooling himself. Yoon got furious, and his friend said they had always thought that Chai liked Yoon, but Jezun disagreed. She said she didn't believe it because in the short time she had known Chai, she was very kind and friendly, so people could easily confuse those feelings. However, she had noticed that Chai was interested in someone else. Her curiosity piqued. Her friends asked who that person was, but Yoon refused to say. They quickly concluded it was Yoon. Meanwhile, Chai was still practicing the kiss scene with Yoon when she received a call from Jun. She was so focused that everything got ruined when she answered the phone. Jun told her he was at a nightclub and asked if she could come. She was nervous and told him she couldn't come right now, but they could meet another time. After saying this, she hung up, leaving Jun even more furious. After the call ended, Yoon overheard Chai's stomach growling for food. Without wasting any time, he rushed to prepare something for her. Out of nowhere, Chai began remembering the kiss she shared with Yoon at Minji's house during the party, and this made her incredibly nervous, especially since he was sober and most likely remembered it. Nervously, she grabbed a bottle of wine, and Yoon quickly took her out to eat before she got drunk. While they ate, Chai asked if he had kissed many people before, which startled Yoon. She told him that for her, it had been her first kiss. Chai then started searching online for kisses from Yoon's dramas, and Yoon, feeling nervous and trying to stop her, spilled a glass of wine on his clothes. Chai quickly removed his shirt, claiming she needed to wash it, leaving Yoon semi-nude. As she tried to clean the wine stain, she couldn't stop thinking about why she was feeling this way, especially since it was just a practice. Yoon, getting closer to her, said it had also been his first kiss, and that practicing was good for both of them. Annoyed, Chai turned away, but when she saw him semi-nude, she got scared and quickly told him to go put his shirt back on, even though it was she who had left him in that state. Later, Chai went upstairs and overheard a phone conversation where Yoon was talking to a girl and, worse still, they were making plans to meet at a hotel. This devastated her, and she immediately decided to go home. However, Yoon saw her and insisted on taking her home. When they arrived, before getting out of the car, Chai shouted at him, demanding he not lie to her again, saying that this wasn't their first kiss, since they had kissed just a few nights ago. With that, she got out of the car and went inside her house. At the entrance, she was met by Jun, who scolded her for not answering his calls. He, foolishly, grabbed her tightly and said he missed her, not as a friend but in a way that implied more. Chai told him to let go, but Yun arrived just in time. Yun, wanting to talk to her alone, was so stubborn that he grabbed Jun by the shirt and forced him to step away from Chai. Seeing this, Chai stepped in and told both of them to go home and talk later. She left, leaving them alone. And June also left, but not without warning Yun not to get close to Chai again. The next day, Yun arrived on set and overheard that Leon had been brushing his teeth all day because he was going to kiss Chai. Yun was excited, thinking it would surely be their first kiss, but of course it wasn't, since June had already kissed her. On set, Chai was nervous and had just run into Yoon, who told her to think about how they had practiced together. When they finally reached the kissing scene, Chai kissing Leon couldn't help but remember the kiss with Yoon. On the other hand, Jun was sulking in his dressing room, not wanting to watch Chai kiss someone else. Meanwhile, Jun's representative received a call, and it seemed like a unique opportunity for Yun. Jun explained that Yun had been invited to a celebrity talk show and it would be a great time to promote the drama. Yun never felt comfortable on these types of shows, but when he was told that Jun would also be attending, he agreed, wanting to get back at him. Meanwhile, Gina was texting Yun, hoping to see him that night. That evening, Yun went to meet her. Their relationship seemed very close, and she was excited to spend time with him, even after traveling so far. She hoped to stay in Korea as an influencer. But the worst part was that she knew Yoon's secret and asked if he had ever consumed human blood. Back at home, Chai was thinking about Yoon, even seeing him on TV. She was deep in thought and finally accepted that she liked him, but she wasn't sure how he felt about her. She worried that her feelings might ruin the beautiful and special connection they had. So, she decided to hide her feelings, at least until she no longer needed his help. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door, and to her surprise, it was her little vampire Yoon who had come to bite her. After the bite, he told her that he had something to share and wanted to be the one to tell her before she found out from someone else. This left Chai shocked. The thing was, he had gone on the talk show to get back at Jun for mistreating her. He remembered that morning at the recording set of the talk show, where Yoon was getting a drink. He overheard some men talking badly about Chai, saying that she had always been behind Jun, and even suggesting she could be his mistress. They spoke so poorly of her that Yoon couldn't stand it anymore. He stormed into the men's bathroom and confronted them, but just in time, Jun arrived and stopped Yoon before he did something reckless. They were now ready for the interview, and the host started by asking Jun about his relationship with Sera. In his arrogant manner, Jun replied that they had known each other since high school, and that when they realized their feelings were mutual, they decided to take the risk and be together. He added that he was very happy with her. What a liar. Everyone found it sweet the way he spoke. Suddenly, Yoon asked for permission to say something. He began by saying that hearing Jun speak so confidently gave him the courage to confess something. He revealed that a long time ago he had confessed his feelings to a girl, and now he finally had the courage to openly declare it to everyone. His representative was on the verge of a heart attack, and the presenters were thrilled. They eagerly asked who this girl was and what her name was. Yoon mentioned her name and thanked her for reciprocating his feelings. He then openly declared that he loved her, and today he was sharing this with Chai. Chai had only just learned of this and thought she would be upset, but instead she was happy. She realized that, with Yoon's confession, their meetings would be easier, and it felt even better knowing she was in love with him. At that moment, Yoon received a call, and it was from Gina. He didn't answer, but when he saw it was his representative, he picked up. Chai, feeling jealous, began to worry that the more she fell for him, the more broken her heart would be in the end. The next day, on the recording set, everyone was excited to hear about Yoon and Chai. They were surprised, but what hurt them most was seeing Leon, completely devastated. Later, Yoon ran into Leon, who was embarrassed. He confessed that, since he didn't know Yoon and Chai were together, he had asked Yoon for help to go out with Chai. But that was all in the past. Leon still wanted to know if Chai knew he was a vampire, but before he could ask, they were interrupted. A few days later, the celebrity talk show aired on TV, and Chai was watching it at home with Yoon. She was so excited, and when she heard Yoon's confession, for a moment she felt his love was so genuine. Everything he said was true. He had been a fan of hers since she was a child. As he mentioned this, Yoon remembered his childhood. When he was a boy, he had arrived in a small town in the middle of nowhere. Everyone ignored him, and his parents fought over where they had settled. At school, he was teased for being so pale. But despite this, he became popular with the other children, which led to problems with the school bullies. One day, they pushed him around and ruined all of his things, and Yoon, in response, pushed them back. Just as the children were about to hit Yun, an elderly lady appeared and defended him, causing the children to run away. Yun asked her where she lived, and since it was far, he hoped she would allow him to accompany her home. She invited him to eat and gave him clean clothes, which happened to be her granddaughter's. She was lonely, and Yun quickly became a dear friend to her, visiting regularly. Over time, he became her adopted grandson. One day, the elderly lady learned that Chai would visit her for a few days. Being a little younger than Yun, she hoped they would get along. However, things didn't go as expected. Chai was quite territorial at first, but as time passed, Yun noticed she was suffering because her mother hadn't come to see her. He began to look at her differently, and slowly, they started getting along. They played together, and Chai even admired Yun for his great abilities. One day, Yun got into trouble with the boy who always teased him. Seeing this, Chai defended him fiercely. Yun, feeling the need for protection, asked her to marry him, promising to treat her well. Chai had always shined for him, just as she did when she was younger. But this beautiful story didn't have a happy ending. One afternoon, as usual, Yun arrived to visit the elderly lady, only to find she had passed away, likely due to the depression she had fallen into. His sister suggested he travel abroad to study and even stay with a friend, so he did. During his time abroad, he met Gina, his sister's friend. But his thoughts were always with Chai and his grandmother, and at least now he had Chai by his side. The next day on the set, Chai was in the bathroom when Don, the jealous one, arrived. She told Chai she was worried about her, saying Yun seemed too good for her, that venomous snake. Chai, however, responded that Don should be more careful with her words, since they could be seen as looking for a fight. This made Don angry. Chai left the bathroom and saw Yun, who immediately smiled and affectionately caressed her cheek, calling her princess. Don, witnessing this, grew even more furious. But Yun, happily, told Chai that he missed her, and before she could say anything more, he led her to the dressing rooms. There, he told her she didn't have to try so hard in her acting. They could just pretend to be together. He then showed her how he had her name saved in his phone, complete with little heart emojis. He asked her to do the same for him. Afterward, he asked to take a picture together so he could keep it on his phone. They looked so happy together. Meanwhile, Jin and Sarah were having dinner at a restaurant. She didn't understand why he had suddenly invited her, but of course, it was all part of his fake couple act to continue drawing attention, since his plan to garner fame in the tabloids had failed. They were overshadowed by Yun. Nevertheless, they had to keep up the facade for the sake of appearances. Jin still doubted that Chai had chosen Yun over him, which Sarah found perfectly reasonable. On the other side, Chai was waiting for Yun at his house, watching a drama. She began imagining herself married to Yun, enjoying their honeymoon. But her daydreams were interrupted by the doorbell. When she opened it, she was surprised to find Gina standing there. Gina happily introduced herself as Yun's old friend. Chai, confused, asked who she was, and Gina explained. They chatted for a bit, and Gina mentioned she wanted advice from Yun because their mothers were friends. Then, with a sweet smile, Gina told Chai she looked like a doll. Chai thanked her, and Gina appeared to be a kind woman. But she soon left, and shortly after Yun arrived, surprised when Chai told him she had just been visited by Gina. After their brief chat, Yun, eager, bit Chai, and after doing so, she yearned for a kiss but was too shy. She stepped away for a moment, and when she returned, Yun was asleep on the couch, looking so sweet. Chai, thinking about it, wondered if Gina had been Yun's first love, someone he couldn't forget. She asked him if he still liked his first love, and half asleep, he mumbled that seeing her again made him like her even more. A week later, Yun had to leave for work, but called Chai to tell her he would be back soon to bite her again. Meanwhile, Yun had a photo shoot, looking incredibly handsome. On the other hand, Chai was reviewing the nominees for the Golden Dragon Awards, which were about to take place. But as Yun's photo shoot continued, a loud noise startled everyone. The weather was getting worse, and when they reached the airport, they found out the flights had been cancelled due to the storm. Yun was anxious and needed to see Chai. With no other option, he called Jisun, who was enjoying a vacation. The only person who could help Chai now was Leon. Later, at the Golden Dragon Awards, Chai prepared in her dressing room. Out of nowhere, the headache returned. Chai wanted to feel better, but on the other hand, Yun, who had already asked Leon for a favor, finally arrived and was shocked to find that Chai was already being bitten by Leon. Chai woke up as if she had been asleep and was surprised to see Leon, but something felt unreal. When Leon bit her, she didn't remember it, but now, when he did it again, she recalled everything. Suddenly, Chai saw Yun and Leon left. Chai asked him to bite her again, but she felt like this bite was different. Of course, it was because he didn't actually bite her. This moment made Yun remember his past. He used to watch Chai's work with his grandmother, who wished that her granddaughter wouldn't work so hard just to help her. She made Yun promise to take care of Chai when she was no longer around. When Yun took his grandmother's hands, they were as cold as Chai's were now. That's when he asked Chai to take some tests and to take a 2-hour break for them. She agreed and went to her presentation, where HN wished her good luck. Not long after, Leon arrived, and Yun thanked him for what he had done, but Leon asked if Chai remembered everything when he bit her. Did she lose her memory? She confirmed it, though she didn't understand why. Even knowing that he was a vampire, she accepted him and asked him to keep the secret. Days later, she told Yun that she had taken the tests, and the doctor said she was fine. The headaches were likely due to stress, but Yun suggested she get another opinion from another doctor. Chai wondered if she was a problem for him, especially since he was so busy and couldn't bite her every week. She then received a message from Minji showing her some comments that claimed Chai had seduced Yun and that she was unattainable for him. All the comments attacked her. Minji called her to check on her, mentioning that Daeon had once said something similar to what had been posted. That made Chai remember what she had been told in the bathroom. She thanked Minji for being her friend, but decided that now she needed to find out who had posted those comments. On the other hand, Sarah also wanted to call her friend Chai, but didn't dare. Meanwhile, Jun was pleased with the negative comments Chai was now receiving, saying she deserved it. A little later, Yun arrived at Chai's house with Leon. While Chai wasn't paying attention, Yun hugged her and gave her a little bite. Soon after, they started talking about the rumors. Chai told him that she didn't feel like she had to face everything alone anymore, because she now had friends who cared about her, and Yun was by her side. That was why she didn't care about what others said behind her back. Yun then asked if she remembered the program they had been invited to, and Chai responded that she did, but because of everything happening, he might say they couldn't go. However, Chai insisted that she would go. Yin, worried, asked if she wouldn't feel uncomfortable, but she reassured him, saying that it was a great opportunity to clear up the controversy. They both decided to work hard to make sure the rumors would disappear. The big day arrived for the couple's paradise shoot. At the airport, Yun was already there with a smile, greeting Chai. He told her that he had missed her, and she smiled back, saying she had missed him too. Yun thought she was talking about him, but actually she was referring to her beloved vampire, Yun. Suddenly, Chai greeted Ka, who waved at her happily. Sarah then said to Chai that they looked great together. Jin chimed in, saying it felt like a school trip, but Chai corrected him, saying it was actually a couple's trip. On the plane, Yoon was deep in thought. He wondered why Chai hadn't seemed sad when she saw Ka Jin together. He asked if she was nervous, and she said a little, but mostly she was excited because it was her first time flying, and she would visit a place famous for honeymoons. When she said that, Yoon imagined their own honeymoon, which made her blush. She quickly told him she had watched videos to make sure everything would go well, and he smiled, saying, "My girlfriend is amazing." Both of them were happy, but June, on the other hand, was furious. Once they arrived at the event location, they were told to change clothes, and in 3 hours they would meet at the pool. Once there, they began preparing, welcoming the 4 most iconic couples in the entertainment world. They explained everything about the contest and what Couples Paradise had in store. They were told that the perfect honeymoon wasn't within everyone's reach, as only one couple would have the chance to win this amazing trip. And so began the first challenge, which was for the men, and they had to be in swimsuits because the challenge took place in a pool. June, the vain one, walked out thinking that, even though it was a couples event, his good physique would make everyone fall in love with him. However, he didn't count on the vampire stealing the spotlight with his spectacular entrance, looking like a god. The first challenge was a contest to see who could make their opponent fall first, and so the match began. Jun and Yun faced each other, but when Jun was ready to attack, he was surprised to find that Yun had already gotten ahead of him. Jun had been distracted by silly thoughts, and Yun won. But not satisfied with losing, Jun started shouting that he was drowning. Yun rushed to help him but reassured him that everything would be fine because the pool wasn't deep. The funniest moment was when Chai stretched out her hand with a towel, and June, thinking it was for him, acted all proud, but no. She didn't even smile at him. Instead, she saw Ka and remembered she was with her. She walked over and told him to behave, as he was embarrassing her. It was then announced that Yun won the first challenge. Chai was so happy she ran to hug her vampire and blushed when she realized she had hugged him without any clothes on. The next challenge was for the women, and it involved hopping on one foot. Chai, and 2 other women participated. Jun wasn't even happy supporting Ka while Yun was cheering for his girlfriend. Suddenly, Sarah almost fell and was about to hurt herself, but she was saved by Yun, Yun's representative. She thanked him, but was taken aback by how handsome he was. She didn't know who he was until Yun approached him, and then she realized he was Yun's representative. It was announced that Chai won the second challenge. The third event was a strength test, and June thought it would be easy for him, but as soon as the challenge started, he couldn't handle it and fell to the ground because it hurt his most important part. June didn't even know what happened, but with every ridiculous moment, he just looked more and more foolish. Luckily, after that, they had a short break. Chai had the chance to chat with her lovely friend Ka, and they took a small walk along the beach. Ka asked if she was really dating Yun. Chai wondered why she was asking, and Ka mentioned that it was strange how suddenly she was with him. Before Chai could answer, they were interrupted by the event organizer, who told them that they were starting the cooking challenge. They all gathered in the kitchen, and Yun and Chai were cooking together. They were the couple everyone admired. They asked Chai what she knew how to cook, and she happily mentioned some delicious dishes. They then asked Yun if she knew how to cook, and she happily replied that no, she was better at eating. Yun hugged her and said he would keep cooking delicious meals for her. How sweet. But Jun wasn't feeling so great. He was furious because, since he didn't know how to cook, they made him wash vegetables. To make things worse, he was washing them with soap, which had the other girls laughing. Ka, though, was embarrassed by what June was doing. To everyone else, June had a talent, making them laugh. Meanwhile, Leon was rehearsing his music video, but he seemed distracted, remembering everything Yun had told him about the bite. Chai was so distracted that she decided to take a break. Her friend asked if she was okay, and he suggested that she might be like this because of Yun. Leon then asked if anyone knew of a human who had been bitten by a vampire and didn't lose their memory. His friend told him that yes, that had happened before, and Leon was truly surprised.